I'm going to take a few minutes and explain how this strait looks like and exactly what is happening here. Now, if you follow me with the camera, you look at this particular Strait of Hamouz this way. I don't know if they'll be able to see a different one, but I would like them to look at what I have here. Now, this Strait of Hamouz, if you look at it, on the other side, you have the Saudi Arabia, you have places like Qatar, you have the Muscat, you have so many different places that are bordering this particular Strait of Hamouz. Then on top there, you have Kuwait. If you look closely, you'll be able to see Iran and where the connection point really is. The problem here is not this whole place. Follow me closely. The problem here is that particular a curve over there that tends to take approximately 33 kilometers wide. So the movement of ships are not like cars that you just stand the way you want. No, there is a lot of kind of strategy and skill that is needed in order for that particular environment to be relatively as it is. Now, Iran tends to sit at the northern part, the northern coastline of that particular environment. This is why anytime the Western nations create sanctions, always Iran tends to threaten them with war. Reason is because Iran tends to be at the northern coastline. Please, dear Kenyans, listen. We are not crazy people. And I'm requesting especially our leaders, Mr. President, Deputy President, and all those leaders. It is wisdom to give knowledge to people. Anytime you leave gaps, people are not able to comprehend why is fuel costing 40 shillings higher, why is this like that. And I blame you people because you don't give people the needed knowledge. Allow Kenyans to know what is happening. Kenyans are not your children. They are mature people that can understand, they can reason, and they can hear, especially when they are taken the right way. But anytime you come here and you're in funerals, the only thing you're doing is abusing people. Some of you have no shame, even in funerals. You are abusing people in funerals. You think you're talking to your family members. And then when these people come up with their own concepts, you begin to look down on them. Why would you look down on them? You are the ones that have created a gap, a knowledge gap, and so they will create their own knowledge and fill it up. Dear Kenyans, listen very closely. So this Strait of Hamouz there, approximately 34 kilometers wide, is the problem. Why? Because now Iran does not own the Strait of Hamouz. It's like looking at it this way. Mombasa is at the coastline, but Mombasa does not own all the coastline. You have countries like Somalia, all those countries that are bordering the coastline. That's how the Strait of Hamouz looks like. So you can see Kuwait is right there. So many different countries are bordering there. Now, as much as Iran would threaten nations, I would like you to know another thing that you will be told, but of course leaders will not tell you this. All of the oil that is or rather produced in that very country called Iran, please listen to this point very carefully, always is needed to pass through the very same coastline. So Iran, as much as nations are coming up with sanctions, Iran cannot necessarily shut down that particular lineage or that particular line. Why? Because Iran's only exit point of the same particular oil product that they produce in their nation must pass through the same area called the Strait of Hamouz. So as much as people are trying to tell us, oh, you know what, it's going to be very, Iran cannot threaten 100% because it will be very bad for the economy. Reason is because much of what is manifesting the economy strongly is actually that very oil. So as much as they want to threaten people, I hope that point is very clear. They cannot shut down that particular Gulf line, Strait of Hamouz. The reason is because they also need it. And if that place is totally shut down, their economy will hurt. I hope that point is very clear. So to the politicians, don't come here and start talking about Strait of Hamouz when you really do not even understand how the flow of services work there. Very important that you understand that. So Iran does not own the Strait of Hamouz. Iran's nation touches on the coastal line of that Strait of Hamouz. Very important that you understand that. So if we continue to go deeper, Hamouz connects Persian Gulf to Gulf, Oman. Hamouz connects Persian Gulf to Gulf of Oman. There are different kinds of Gulf. And then and it is after that it gets to the open sea. So once it passes through that Gulf, Strait Gulf, and then it gets to the Gulf of Oman, after that, you see there, it now enters through the open sea. So no longer the 33 kilometers matter. Now, after that particular Strait of Hamouz, the next strait there is Gulf of Oman. Now, after Gulf of Oman, the seabed becomes bigger. That means it's now easier. No one can no longer threaten things on sanctions and all those kind of things. But because of the Iranian, you can actually see how big Iran is. You see Iran, what size of the coastal line Iran owns. So that's the reason as to why. But at the same time, Iran must allow that ship line to work through, because they need that particular coastal line to transfer all their petroleum products or oil products. I hope that is very important for you to put across there. Now, I will need to say this. It is the only exit of oil from Persian Gulf producing nations. And I want you to see that. All Persian Gulf producing nations, I'm going to tell you which nations they are, this is the only exit they have. So no nation is going to allow eternal fights. As much as it's going to hurt nations that, rely on them, it is automatically also hurting those nations. Why? Because there is what we call demand, the law of demand and supply. They will be supplying more than is demanded. And if you supply more than you are demanded, the price of what you have goes lower. It means your value add automatically goes as low as is exactly to that point. So I will need to explain this particular kind of nations that are Persian, on the Persian Gulf. Number one, you can write Iraq. Number two, you can write Qatar. Number three, you can write Saudi Arabia. Number four, you can write the UAE. And number five, you can write the Kuwait. Of course, you can write the Saudi Arabia also. So they are very important. I think there are five actually I've already mentioned. This particular nations are the ones that form the Persian Gulf. Now, all these nations are known for, production of this particular one. And especially, by the way, Qatar is the biggest importer of the gas, which is very, 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 very important. So Qatar would not want war to extend for long. Why? It's going to be hurt a lot. Qatar also is needing this particular Gulf of Hamouz. But if you look the size of Iran, you come on this other side, you can see there is Bahrain, you can see there is Qatar, you see how small Qatar is, you see there is UAE, you see there is Saudi Arabia. Actually, Saudi Arabia touches a little bit there, which, you can see all that. Then you can see Iraq is on top there. You can see where Kuwait is located. You can see where Oman is located. Pakistan is on the other side. They have already left the Strait of Hamouz. Then Afghanistan is on top there, Pakistan, and all those kind of nations. So it's very important that you understand that. As we keep on deeper, around 22% of the world oil, I've told you, passes through this particular place, which is approximately 18 to 24 million barrels every day. They need to pass through here. So definitely all the nations, Iran would, tend to, boast a lot. And this is why you see they are refusing conversations with the US, because they know that approximately 24 million barrels is passing through their coastline, and they have say. But remember, I told you, they do not also want war, because the biggest contributor of their GDP happens to be this very thing. So if there is war there, they end up producing for no one, and then their oil becomes irrelevant. So it's very important you understand that. Now, let's continue. As much as it is Iran does not want total shutdown because of that, what I've explained. US has big presence in that particular area. And then it continues to say it is not only the passage, it's not the only passage, you need to understand that, but also fuel runs through the portal. In terms of now Kenya, now I've already started by explaining the global nature of what you call the Strait of Hamouz, in order for us to be able to understand exactly why Iran is playing a big role in that particular environment. Now, looking at it from that point of view, Kenya, I've told you that approximately quarter of our import resources are swallowed necessarily by petroleum products. So Kenya imports relatively all of that petroleum product, and you can see as to the reason which I'm going to explain, so that you can understand the hike and what and where there is corruption and where there is politics, or where there is actually genuine hiking of a product. Because unfortunately in Africa, people use other people's nations' problems to hike things and claim that, oh, you know, we have a problem here. We do not have that much of a problem. Follow me, you'll be able to find out. Meanwhile, to those of you that have nothing better than to abuse people, try the next page. Fools are not part of this particular environment. Let's look for the next page, because unfortunately for most of us, or rather some of us, we don't allow people to reason. We just shout, we just do what, and the Bible is very clear. Come, let us reason together. And this is my appeal to our Kenyan leaders. It's very important that we reason with Kenyans. Stop talking to Kenyans as if you are talking to your family members. Even your own family members, there is a wisdom to it. Talk to Kenyans as your bosses. You are not our bosses. All the elected leaders, from the president down to the member of parliament and MCA and all those women rep, you are not our lead. You are not our bosses. We, the people of Kenya, Article 1 of the Constitution, all sovereign power belongs to the people. It doesn't belong to you leaders. So you owe Kenyans every reason to explain what is happening to our nation, even before you do it. It's like a company, the HR manager of a company goes and, you know, just does what he wants without speaking to the owner of the company. Kenya belongs to Kenyans. We are the owners of Kenya, and it is the work of all the leaders to make sure that you bring Kenyans up to speed. Even the one that is a fool, bring him up to speed. Let him argue from his own point of foolishness. But every time you see people rising and they are talking and they are fighting, the reason why they are talking is because you have decided not to build within the wisdom that is needed. It's very easy to come up and explain to Kenyans, this is exactly what is happening. So that when a politician rises there and begins to politicize this matter, Kenyans themselves can tell you, no, you are lying to us. But when you leave gaps, we are trying to find out what is the problem with our nation, you abuse us. We are trying to find out what is the problem with you abuse us. May you receive understanding. So in as much as I told you this is a passage, it's not the only passage, but approximately 24% of that product is needed to pass through this package. Now Kenya, the reason why Kenya, someone can say, oh okay, if it's not the only portal that this particular product can pass, why doesn't Kenya look for other portals? I'm coming there. Isn't that a good question? Now let me explain why it's very vital for Kenya what happens in the Strait of Hamouz. Let me explain the reason. Kenya has what you call a G2G. Can I repeat it again? Kenya has what you call a G2G basis, government to government. And I'm going to share with you the 3 companies that Kenya has assigned G2G with them. These are the government to government through these companies. For example, if you go to the UAE, these are the companies that Kenya has a deal with. So in as much as we have other passages, Kenya does not have a deal with those particular passages. If we are going to use those other passages, we will need to cut off this deal with them, which actually we can't until 2027. And you all know from other things that apparently, when you know, according to the law, when you deal before its time and you cut off a contract before its time, you will end up paying what you call what? Damages. So Kenya has a deal with these companies until 2027. Now, in 2027, we can review the deals as per the package. Now, have I repeated again? The Strait of Hamouz is not the only place where this product passes from. But because Kenya has a deal with this particular region, this is the reason why any other strait does not matter to Kenya. Whether there are other streets, they do not matter to Kenya. This is the only one that matters to Kenya. And I want you to hear. We have a G2G fuel supply agreement with 3 Gulf states oil company. Now, it means Kenya imports from the Gulf. And I've told you the Gulf states are which one? Can you remember? UAE, Qatar, Saudi Arabia, Kuwait, and Iraq. Those are the only places Kenya can be. These are the areas. But within that environment, I want you to hear, these are the 3 companies that Kenya has a G2G with. Number 1, if you're writing, write it down. Saudi Aramco. It's very important that you understand that first company. The second company is Abu Dhabi National Oil Company. The third one is Emirates National Oil Company. Kenya has what you call a G to G with these three companies. The contract is meant to last until 2027. Now, what does that mean? It simply means whatever that happens in this strait will affect Kenya directly. You know, let me explain the reason. China has approximately a 4-year, in case there will be a problem here, and this is why you're not seeing China being affected, because China has a reserve that can be able to take the nation approximately 3 to 4 years. The Kenya reserve is approximately what? Is it 60 days? Now you imagine you are dealing with a nation that, assuming there is a problem of this particular product, and by the way, most of that product passes through here. China is really in need, by the way, at the same time. This is why you notice China, the US, I've told you the US has a lot of interest in that particular region, even though the US produces its own oil. And then we're going to talk about production and why Kenya needs to produce. You're going to come to tallow oil, because if you remember, during Uhuru's government, we actually found oil in Kenya, only for us to realize that specific people are now the beneficiary. We will never know what happens. And this is why some people would not want Kenya to have oil. Reason is because these deals that are cut here means billions to many people. And so when the same product is found in Kenya, Kenyans, listen kindly. Put tribalism on the side. The fact that you hate pastors, put it on the side. You can hate us next time. For now, we are trying to deliver our nation. As much as this is the situation, people would not want the manufacture of anything. Reason is because anything that is locally manufactured means it will be less needed in terms of import. And there are very many people that are making money from importation. This is why you see Kenya importing unnecessary things. Kenya importing sanitary towels. There are companies making money, individuals making money. Do you remember the other time in the news line, you heard that approximately 43 million people's wealth is being controlled by approximately less than 150 people? Do you remember? That's what exactly happens. So anytime there is more production in a country, the products become cheaper. And if the products become cheaper, it becomes cheaper for the locals to afford. And so the country must be able to look for external people or external nations to consume their products. And that's why things in China are cheaper. The same thing you can buy in Kenya for $1 million, you'll probably be buying it in China for 300,000 or 400,000. Why? Because a lot of production of that particular product is being produced in that country. And if Kenya, or rather Africa, wants to come out of this quagmire, Africa must focus on production. If you look at quarter of what our budget is being consumed by petroleum products, can you imagine if quarter of that product, quarter of that money stays behind, and instead of leaving the country, it stays in the country? Like this quarter, the product, we are saying if petroleum is being produced, quarter of our national budget is being taken by the petroleum product, can we be able to keep this money in our country? What you call circulation of money. That instead of buying rice from outside, we can buy rice from our people. And if we're able to buy rice from our people, it simply means that we are able to create more jobs. But if you export, what you are doing is that you are creating more jobs to the person that you are importing from. If you import, it means you are creating more jobs to that person that you are giving money. You are exporting money and importing services. We are supposed to export services and import money. This is why China is the way it is, because China receives people's money and it releases goods. Are you getting that? And this is where Africa needs to get to. We need to focus on export. We need to be a production based continent rather than a consumption based continent. In case you're not aware, by the way, digressing a little bit, I can see my men here are doing a good job. Thank you very much, media. I will need to make this point. Approximately, the GDP of Africa. Let's even give it. Let's even give this GDP of Africa more. The GDP of Africa is approximately It is not even beyond 7%. The GDP of Africa. Very important that you understand that. Now, France alone. The reason why you saw the President Macron come here and speak the way he spoke? Because the GDP of France alone is almost equal to the GDP of Africa. So can you imagine all 52 nations in Africa? All 52 nations. Can you imagine the GDP of all 52 nations is approximately 5-6%? Then here comes one nation called France. The GDP of France is approximately the same. What if you now divide, if all of Africa is bringing this particular percentage, even talk about 8%, whatever you want to give it, divide that 8% divide by 52 nations. Can anyone do it? Can you divide 8 by 52? And by the way, you need to know it cannot be that way, because definitely South Africa has a higher GDP than others. Kenya in the East African divide, Kenya has a higher GDP than others. So let's just assume that you have that amount of 52 nations. They are giving 8% contributing 8% to the whole world. This is why you can see people like Bill Gates speak the way they speak, because according to them, without Africa in terms of the GDP, not minerals, the world can continue, and they know it. The reason is because our leaders sell our products without them being fully prepared. We don't take our products to the end. We don't do what you call value addition. Someone is like, for example, Botswana is exporting diamond. We will export the raw material. We will not make the rings that are actually expensive. We will not make the watches that are actually expensive. Kenya will export specific products that we need to put value add here. In case you're not aware, our tea is the best in this particular area. In case, by the way, you're not aware, this same Gulf line, Kenya exports tea to them. They need us. I don't know if you remember, there was a deal, Iran had a problem with Kenya that they paid a certain amount of money. Was it for tea or coffee? And then there was no delivery. They need our tea. But the tea that we give them, we don't add value add. So you come and look at the same tea abroad is 7,000, 8,000. You wonder what? Then the farmer in Kenya is hurting because he cannot even afford what? He cannot afford, fertilizer. So if we put value add to our products and export products that have gone through the value add, you create more job opportunities, because then the chain becomes bigger.